The wild places of the Concord are home to all manner of folks, from bandits and exiles hiding in the Weiland woods of Bolsterlee, to hidden things in the catacombs of Lon and even stranger peoples living in the darkest corners of Windholme. As of late, one of the most human and recognisable groups has grown into a considerable problem, the Boar's Head clan. Residing in the hidden valleys of the Steinvaults mountains, these warrior mountaineers have begun to move against the Concord, with skirmishes breaking out across Weiland and Windholme. While the history of the Concord's interactions with these people is a complex one, the future is hardly written in stone, but it will likely be written in blood. Fortresses of Ice and Iron. For years, the Concord has been attempting to address the strange group of wild folk that reside in the deep valleys of the Steinvaults mountains. Calling themselves the Boar's Head clan, these self-confessed dragon slayers offered to guide the Concord through the Steinvaults, connect Windholme and Weiland with a direct trade that brought wealth to both realms and the Boar's Head clan, who charged a hefty toll. It was this toll that broke down relations. Neither Bordevar nor the Valley had the ability nor the want to pay the precious materials and crystal mana to the brusque warriors of the mountains. Offers of coin, or invitations to feasts, or platitudes of trade deals fell on deaf ears. The Boar's Head knew what they were here for, and if the Concord would not trade for it, then circumstances would have to change. Attempts by the Iron Valley to discover the secret paths of the Boar's Head through their own subterfuge largely failed, again through the lack of investment. But they did identify that the Boar's Head was not a small, isolated settlement of a few hundred, but a web of mountain valley holds with a population in the thousands, and many of them warriors under arms. With contact thoroughly closed off by insult, snow, and lack of investment, a storm began to brew. It began with summiters in the Steinvaults going missing, but the conflict truly came to a head in winter 223, when Boar's Head clanfolk clashed with the Bordavarian common folk in the Wolfston Woods, south of Arbington. It appears that the Boar's Head were logging in the deepest parts of the woods for supplies to be hauled up to their mountain abodes. Contrary to the Iron Valley's attempts at open-handed diplomacy, the nobles of Bordevar acted harshly to repulse this intrusion onto their lands. Mercenaries were hired using funds gifted from the Senate, and the Boar's Head clan were put to the sword or routed back into the foothills of the Steinvaults. Following the capture of a Boar's Head war leader by Bordavarian forces, the Iron Valley made one last attempt at peace, while Bordevar prepared for war. King's Rangers watched from the mountains from the north with bows in hand, and while in the south, a message was left: stand with us or stand against us. It appears the Boar's Head have made their choice. Game information. There is vanishingly little known about the Boar's Head clan, and plenty of it is hearsay shared by the clansfolk themselves. They call themselves dragon slayers and are said to worship the old gods of the Iron Valley in their oldest form. Whatever that may be, as the Concord readies itself for conflict against the Boar's Head, it is likely that the Concord will learn more about them very directly. Characters who are from Heinsgruff in Windholme may have stories of seeing or briefly interacting with Boar's Head guides during the short period of trade in 223. These people were clad in heavy furs, always armed, and spoke in short, sharp sentences. They looked upon the valley folk with harsh eyes and avoided symbols of the spheres. Characters from southern Bordevar, particularly with investments in the Wolfston Woods, can tell stories of spotting strange figures in the forest at a distance, or being questioned by King's Rangers in pursuit of these trespassing loggers. Characters interested in pursuing more information about the Boar's Head clan are recommended to seek out the Iron Valley folk who interacted with the captured war leader Grin last summit, attempt historic research through a high historian, speak to title holders, or attempt to access the skirmishes listed elsewhere in this entry. However, it is likely that the time for in-person deliberations have passed. I have heard the words of Obhan Dahk, the danger in Windholme. In the valley, the offer had always been simple. They had offered the Boar's Head a place among them. The Concordian heroes struggled to bring the minerals to trade with the Boar's Head, and hoped to foster closer ties with the group, when diplomacy with this strange valley cousin struggled to the top of the High Reeve's current concerns. But each time the Boar's Head refused, and if anything, grew colder on each offering. The last offer was left in the close valleys of the Steinvaults by skilled summiters. the same summiters who had pierced the Steinvaults on the behest of some of the valley's most influential heroes. A banner and a message that fell on deaf ears. High in these passes, the boar's head sharpened their blades and readied themselves for what was to come. Since the weather has turned, the danger has made itself apparent as small bands of mountain folk warriors have descended. Striking out at outlying burrows near Rumwald and Heinsgraff, they hack and loot, burning whatever they cannot carry. Burrow militias do their best to repel the attacks, but are often too slow or too dispersed to be of much use. These attacks look to continue over the winter as the ice paths into the Steinvaults freeze up, allowing only the skilled Boar's Head raiders to come and go as they please, with Concordian forces impotent to attack and return. Worryingly, the forces of the Boar's Head will be able to strike at the Rumwald vastness, an essential piece of Concordian strategic infrastructure and a place of great wealth for the valley. It appears that the winter will be a time to draw together and survive, but woe be to the Boar's Head when summer returns to the valley, as they will find a folk who have no mercy for those who strike at their heart. Game information. There will be decisions and information relating to the Boar's Head clan in Windholme for the Senator of Windholme, the High Reeves Council, the Champion of the Valley, and the Deed Holder of the Rumwald Vastness. There will be an opportunity for the Valley to face the Boar's Head clan in battle this summit during a skirmish. The parties responsible for organising the skirmish will be the Deed Holder of the Rumwald Vastness and the Champion of the Valley. More information will be available at the summit. Some investments in Windholme and Heinsgraff will find that they have been damaged this past season. Iron Valley military investments may take the special action Watch the Mountains this coming downside. Doing so will help reduce the damage that the Boar's Head clan may be able to do to the infrastructure in Windholme. The Champion of the Valley will have additional information about this call to arms. The pack's strength prevails, the danger in Weiland. The conflict against the Boar's Head in Weiland has always had a different tone. The protective knights and nobles of Bordevar had no sense of kinship with these strange mountain folk, and the common folk had fierce anger towards any who had threatened their homeland. Ever since the Boar's Head clan has closed off trade agreements, Bordevar moved to protect itself. It is very likely that this strong stance undercut any Iron Valley goals of peaceful interaction, but the mountain folk were never particularly one for gentle diplomacy in the first place. The swift military stance has allowed Bordevar to establish watch points, manned by soldiers and King's Rangers throughout the Wilfton Woods, even with large conflict going on in the east against the Onyx aristocracy. As the first wary strikes of Boar's Head raiders descended from the mountains to claim some much-needed timber and livestock, they find ready defenders eager to push them back. Quickly these skirmishes have turned bloody, with running conflict beginning to smoulder in the south of Weiland. Rangers raiding Boarhead camps, skewering warriors in chainmail and giving their labourers a simple choice: return to the mountains or return to the earth. In return, the Boar's Head strike out in a harsher manner. Larger bands and stranger forces move against Bordevar as the prideful mountain folk will take what they need. Soon enough, whole bands of warriors are fighting battles under the howling eeriness of the wolves that call this place home. With two people consumed by war skill and pride, it is exceedingly unlikely that this growing war will come to peace without destruction. Game information. There will be decisions and information relating to the Boar's Head clan in Weiland for the Senator of Weiland, the Ducal Council, the Sheriff of Arbington, the Duke of Hartsgrave, the Champion of the King, and the Royal Ranger. The discrepancy between the Bordevarian and Iron Valley responses to the Boar's Head clan has allowed the Kingless Kingdom to ready itself quite handily for a growing conflict with the mountain folk from the south, but has certainly done damage to the Iron Valley attempt at peace. Given the public nature of these attempts, this knowledge will be easy to find for anyone who would attempt to learn. There will be an opportunity for Bordevar to face the Boar's Head clan in battle this summit during a skirmish. The party responsible for this skirmish will be the Royal Ranger. More information will be available at the summit. That concludes my reading of Cast Down But Not Out, The Battle for the Steinvaults. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.